Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry is a game that I wish was more than it actually is. Yes, I know it's DLC for Black Flag, but given the standalone release, I will be seeing it as its own game, knowing full well its ties to Black Flag. Why did it become a standalone release? I don't know, I can't really tell you. This experience is about 4 hours long, and its standalone release makes it be considered more of a spin-off rather than additional content for me, and this should have leaned more into being a mainline game in my personal opinion. Especially knowing full well what game will be next is considered a mainline game, I believe that they did Adewale dirty, relegating him from supporting character to main character of a spin-off. The game takes place some 13 to 15 years after the events of Black Flag, with Adewale intercepting a Templar package for someone named Bastien Joseph before finding himself shipwrecked on the shores of Port-au-Prince. Meeting Bastien, who is the madame of the brothel in Port-au-Prince, he learns that she does work with the Templars to make coin to help free slaves in the region and is sympathetic to the cause of the Maroons, a faction of freedom fighters trying to liberate themselves and other slaves from the French colonizers. Adewale puts aside his obligations as an assassin to help these people and remains in the region for about 2 years to help bolster their numbers. You'll find yourself freeing slaves from cages, being auctioned, beaten, escaping guards, and even raiding plantations and liberating slave ships, and as you free them, you'll slowly get to unlock more upgrades to your equipment, such as a larger ammo pouch and even new weapons. You'll find yourself unlocking all these rather quickly, as plantation raids and liberating slave ships provide a larger amount of freed slaves than the events you'd find in Port-au-Prince. And no matter how many times you save them from cages or being auctioned, you will still see these same events happen over and over again. This could also be the game's way of telling us that to abolish an institutionalized practice such as slavery, it is going to take united action and should not be the burden of one person. Together, we have nothing to lose but our chains. That, or is just the game's way of giving you more chances to unlock everything. The plantation raids have been fun to go through, and while you could consider going through it sword swinging, the game encourages you to take the stealthy approach, because if you get caught and the overseers are aware of you being about, then they'll just start outright killing the plantation workers, and if you're not quick enough, then there might not be anyone left to save. I love these raids because it made me feel like a proper assassin again, because I had to plan my route and pathing from one person to the next, trying to stay out of sight, remain in hiding, and making sure to hide my tracks so as to not get caught. Naval combat is still in the game, with far less concern on boarding ships to steal cargo and more focused on rescuing people, which I also like. Slave ships would have escorts about, and your goal is to sink the escort ships while leaving the slave ship unharmed to not kill anyone on board, which causes me to aim my cannonballs each time and not recklessly fire into anything that's made of woods. Adewale might be the most selfless assassin we have so far. The main antagonist here isn't a Templar, nor is the main threat a Templar plot. Rather, it's the French governor, who has no ties to either Templars or assassins. He just perpetuates slavery in Port-au-Prince, and while the Templars have varying views on slavery, where some have decried the practice and even expelled some from the order for continuing to own slaves, other Templars remained and still continue to own slaves. The assassins might choose to intervene when a Templar is involved, but may turn a temporary blind eye to focus if one isn't, choosing to focus on the Templars as the main threat. Adewale puts aside the Templars and assassins to help these people, and it is the first interaction he has on land that really speaks volumes about his character.
Merci, mon Dieu. Désolé. I have nothing to offer but thanks.
Nothing else is needed. As a boy, I fled the same fate.
Why would you risk recapture?
Men of principle know the bigger risk is to turn away.
The story itself even demonstrates this at each turn, and one that I want to talk about in particular is when the French colonists began to sink their own slave ship. Adewale risks his life to try and save everyone on board, but isn't able to do so, and as you swim to save yourself from the wreckage, you're surrounded by drowned victims, and you can see how this affects Adewale, deciding that at that moment, the only way to push things further is by assassinating the governor. It's because of things like this that make me wish that we had more. for. It's because of this that makes me wish this game had another 6 hours at least. Another reason that I wish this game was longer was so I had more things to talk about. This script has been a struggle to write for, as I stared at a blank Google Doc for days on end, trying to think of what to say, all because I had the wild idea that every playable assassin should get their own video. The smart thing to have done was so that Freedom Cry was on the Black Flag video, but nope, I decided that I wanted to do it this way and I'm sticking to it. And while playing this game and thinking of what to say, I couldn't help but think about Assassin's Creed Liberation. Liberation was a spin-off to Assassin's Creed 3 on the PS Vita, and it acted more like a companion game in a way that helped to also hint at the fact that Abstergo is out there making video games now, and Ubisoft themselves even said that Freedom Cry is to hint at the next Assassin's Creed game. So let's pretend we're back in 2013 and we have no idea that Rogue and Unity are going to be the next games, and we had to figure out what that hint was. So what could it be? Maybe it's the package that Adewale got at the beginning of the game. At the end of the game, we find out that the package is the precursor box that Ezio handed to Xiao Yun in Embers. So this could mean that maybe, just maybe, we're going to get a game set in China and we could play as a Chinese assassin or possibly as Xiao Yun. And I know that she's about 200 years before Adewale's time, but we've gone from Connor to Edward, so we could go back even further. And if you thought that, then you're wrong, because they said in an AMA on Reddit that they don't have the time and money to go back to previous stories like Ezio or Xiao Yun, so China is out of the question. Now let's jump a bit ahead, and now we know that the next game is going to take place in France. And now I have to wonder if the hint to the next game was the fact that the main antagonist of Freedom Cry is French. This feels like some kind of like Yoshi P shit that he does for like Final Fantasy XIV, where each shirt just reveals the next job or the next expansion, like how the Spider-Man shirt is a reveal for Samurai, or the Ninja Turtles was to reveal Pictomancer. And if anything in this hints at Rogue, bad news, because I do not know what here could hint at Rogue. I don't know much about Rogue apart from it being a assassin turned Templar, and that's all I got, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. Like Liberation, I feel that Freedom Cry is held back by its status as a spin-off or DLC if you prefer. And I know this is a bit of an unfair comparison to make because Liberation was developed as a full game while Freedom Cry was developed as DLC primarily, but the standalone release gives off the impression that it's something more than it actually is. Like it was good enough to be its own thing, not tied to Black Flag, and could be enjoyed on its own. And I want to believe that it is, but I also played it right after Black Flag, so I could also have some biases towards that, whereas somebody who might have played this on its own might have thought, well, is that it? As I got to the end, I couldn't help but think that this might have been better as a mainline title, and the premise even sets itself well to be a mainline game. The Assassin Brotherhood fights that people can be free, and usually this goes against Templar control. But now the enemy isn't the Templars, but rather the system of slavery put into place by colonizers, and Adewale, a person who himself was a slave in his youth, feels a drive to want to free these people as well as given his past experiences. The writer for this DLC was also Jill Murray, who was the scriptwriter for Liberation, and she has created a captivating story that is only 4 hours long, and I really wish it was longer. I cannot state that enough. Count how many times I've said that in this video. I would have loved to have seen what she would have done if given the opportunity, but I will take solace in the fact that we got to kill multiple racists and slavers. Hey everyone, I want to say thank you for watching the video. So I want to know, what do you all think? Should this have been a mainline title or just longer DLC? Let me know below. And the standard YouTube fare, if you liked the video then leave a like. If you didn't like it then leave a dislike. A few things I'm planning for the channel. I'm planning on making another retrospective series on another game franchise, so feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to see those, and they should be coming out in like a month or two from now. Thank you again for watching, it does mean a lot to me. I'll see you all next time, and remember that I appreciate you.